Welcome to the Point Podcast, a production of Garde Voir Ci magazine. Our spring 2023 season features a look into the lost youth culture of Southeast Louisiana. For more information, visit our website at gardevoirci.nichols.edu.
Hello everyone. My name is Quincy Evans, and here today I will be interviewing a band known as Thibodaux and Co. And would you mind introducing yourselves?
This is Quinn Lapeyrouse.
And my name's Tyler Thibodaux.
And today I'll be interviewing them about how the band first started, some of their favorite memories, and whatever comes up along the way. So every big group has their humble beginnings. I'd like to know how the band first was started and everything.
I was working with Quinn on some stuff on Ableton, making music, and I figured that it was just about time to make a band. One to focus on originals and not just necessarily play covers. Wanted more than just being a cover band. I wanted to make my own mark on the world, and in addition, bring my best friends along with me. And ever since then, we've just been steady rolling. Can't complain whatsoever.
I feel like if I was to actually form a band and go around doing gigs and everything, I had to put a lot of time and effort into it, which I really don't have that much right now. So, and how do you feel about it actually? The thought of forming a band and everything, going around towns and everything, playing music for lots of people to hear.
Oh, yeah, it's something that you really want to do from a young age. Eventually, as you grow, you learn new things. We both came to college here, so we were both involved in music. We both had our fair share of knowledge, and then you come together with resources, and eventually I don't know, man. Once you're an adult, you just you figure it out. You have your resources. You're able to do things and get together with other people who have similar interests and like minds.
When I graduated December of 2019, and from the get-go, I knew that business wasn't necessarily for me. It was just sitting behind a desk, a 9-to-5 was just not where I saw myself. And with Thibodaux and Co, it was really a chance. It was taking a big chance on something, because it's scary to say hey, I just got this college degree. All right, let's put that aside. Let's go play some gigs and everything like that. But it was less of a drive for necessarily money or stability, but much more self-fulfillment more than anything. Because with Thibodaux and Co, I felt happiness playing with bands before, but there's a difference between being happy in a band and being genuinely satisfied with the band and where you're going. And with Thibodaux and Co, I just constantly find that whenever we get together, there's just a magic that happens. It's just the whole room just fills up and lights up. And at least from what I see, I can't speak for y'all, but it just, when we're playing together, there's just, it takes you to a whole new level, man.
I've studied music theory and music since I think 4th grade, and all of that is out the window when you're playing. Everyone feels what the other's playing. You just enter a vibe. Everyone just kind of enters this wavelength where we're all thinking the same thing. We're just playing it. We're feeling it, and then other people are feeling it too. And it's more of a genuine happiness versus something that's orchestrated.
And I just want to point out, by the way, you could tell when he's feeling it, because he goes from hunched over keyboard wizard to rolling back, just swinging his hair
Stevie
back.
Wonder.
Yeah, I was literally about to say, you're just giving that Stevie Wonder moment right there.
Mm-hmm.
But when you said that hunch over, it sort of brings me to my next topic that I want to talk about. Your first experience actually performing at a gig. How was that How did that feel for y'all?
Well, it's funny you ask, because our first live experience was actually here in Danos Theater for Selena's final concert, her final recital. And
yeah.
I remember we were preparing for some weeks, writing new material, really focusing on that when she came, and she was like, hey, well, can you just play these 2 songs with me, Soul Sacrifice and Green Onions by Booker T and the MGs? We were like, absolutely, sure. When is the concert? Oh, 3 weeks away. Okay, so we it really put the pedal to the metal, but it really established that I find with our band, when we're under pressure, that's when we perform sometimes the best. When we have that goal that we set and say hey, we got this concert in 3 weeks, and we take nothing and we make it into truly something. Because that concert, I remember before we walked on the stage, I was like, all right, this could go one of 2 ways, and honestly it was very pleasant. That first show that we played here was what really established to me the confidence in this band that I have. You know, after that, I was like, we could take on anything. We could take on the world. We could play Hangout tomorrow. You know, I just want to say I love how Selena came out with 2 songs. She was like Green Onions, which is like a standard from back in the day. Everybody knows it. And then Soul Sacrifice, which had to be one of the hardest things I've learned on set so far, because I've
never played that type of music before, or that type of organ that.
I bet, like, in my experience with music, like, playing memorizing a certain piece for a certain amount of days can be rough, because, like, I remember in the band, I think in my freshman year, we literally learned an entire, like, a show piece in 3 practices that are, like, 2 hours long.
And you know, that's sometimes how it goes. Sometimes the best music comes from when you feel like you're completely underprepared. You feel like you don't know it at all. It's like when you go to take a take in the studio, right? When we go to record things down, oftentimes we'll take like 4 or 5 takes of the whole song through and end up using the first 2 takes because they just really contained that emotion. It was that uncertainty that I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to play this. And when you don't necessarily know what's going on, I feel that's when you can really, the boundaries that hold you back, or what you felt hold you back, are now just completely gone. It's like, all right, let's go at this, let's do it, give it your best shot and see how it goes. And once again, just like those first 2 takes, being pressured and like on the spot are normally what brings like the most musicianship out of a person. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that that's fact or anything like that, but it's just something that I've noticed, especially for myself.
And your brain goes into like overdrive.
It's just like it's thinking faster than you would actually think, like, normally.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about doing like the live stuff and how all that theory and all goes out the window. Like when you're in that vibe and it's like, all right, like solo or do this now. You have no time to think. It is completely, at that point it becomes a craft.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there, brother. I mean, the thing is that drums was not necessarily my first instrument. I picked up bass and played that for a very long time before I picked up the sticks. And after picking up the drums, I realized that, like, when you're in the heat of the moment you're playing, like I said, that pressure makes me a better player, because gone out of my head are like the fills and everything like that, the little things you add into it. The only thing I'm focused on at that point is keeping the beat and making sure that I'm like, in a band, you're like a cog in a wheel, and when one of those cogs is slippery or anything, that could cause the whole machine to fail. So you just got to make sure that you're being that cog and then some in the machine.
We discussed like your first like Houma Begins and everything, and like your first like show and everything. What do you think is like your best show, and how you felt about playing at that?
So I definitely think that our best show was the one last month, the gig for the Zulu crew, mm-hmm. because we really put ourselves to the challenge there. You know, we went from playing all these songs like reggae and everything straight into jazz, like
we had to single down.
Yeah. And the thing was that it just made me so proud afterwards, because we took on something we were completely unfamiliar with, and we just surpassed it. Even the main guy who had like booked us for the gig, Mr. Allen, had told me afterwards. He said, hey, at first, you know, I was a bit weary of y'all. You know, I'd never heard anything about y'all, and we just heard y'all randomly book. And afterward, I love y'all. I want to have y'all back next year. I want to have y'all back for more stuff.
Typical.
You know, it's stuff like that really makes you want to keep doing it and keep putting yourself to a new challenge and just learn new things. That way you can amaze people through music, because music is such a universal love language. Mm-hmm. You know, everybody's got a song they like. Yeah. It really speaks to them.
Yeah. And I would say that one, a lot of the songs that we played, we kind of had to like think of like either a week or two before. We were still sitting here like, hey guys, so what's some jazz tunes that we all like? And I'm like, hey, like I put everything down. Like I used to listen to jazz when I was younger, but it ain't really on my daily playlist anymore. So we're thinking of jazz standards, you know, tunes everyone knows, and we're kind of going through like old jazz textbooks and figuring out like, okay, this is good. And then eventually the gig comes, and that's talking about that wavelength and that vibe. Some of the songs, because we had practiced the week before, we were like, wait, so what's the changes in the song again? Like, what do we do? And we have to sit here and literally just vibe out. Mm-hmm. And just, you're not just thinking for yourself, but you're also thinking of 3 other people, and you're trying to predict what 3 other people's brains are thinking and how they are going to move, how what's their change is going to be, because if everyone else changes and you're still doing the same old thing, well then, look at you fool.
Oh man, like having that experience of like impressing people on like just your first, or not even your first, but something as big as you would remember. Impressing people is like, I feel like that's a certain level of dopamine that you can't like easily predict or manipulate or anything.
For sure, man. And you see, I wouldn't say it's so much as impressing people, much more getting through to them, impacting them in the way that music has impacted you. Because like I've said before, everybody's got that song. You just brought up those first couple of notes in that tune, bringing you straight back. I mean, man, like when we play certain tunes and we make like gig set lists and everything like that, we try and cover a wide range of stuff. And one of the most touching times to me was when I was playing at La Coretta, and this like 2-year-old kid was just staring at me like wide-eyed as could be. He was amazed by my every movement. And when him and his parents were going to leave, it was halfway through the second half of the set list, and this kid comes up and he reaches out to give me a high five, and then in his other hand he has like a Cheeto or something like that. So I'm like, sure, here's a guitar pick for your Cheeto. But like the fact is like you could tell that kid was just enamored with the music. And I mean, my main goal as a musician is to influence other musicians to find that joy in life as I have through music. You know, it's hopefully that kid one day, you know, takes that guitar pick and picks up a guitar and becomes the next Eddie Van Halen or something like that. But it's just the fondest memories I have, and like which you reached people with your music, whatever you're playing, whether it's a cover or an original.
Yeah. Going back to like your music choices, like what made y'all, like I saw that you have 2 original pieces actually, Sports and Vibes. I've listened to them. They're pretty good actually.
Thank
but
you.
What led y'all to like either start making it or just decide to make some original pieces and everything?
So, Sports and Vibe, I composed them back in 2020. Sports was actually a song called Call Me Over, which a fraternity brother of mine was working on a movie about a musician, and he needed a very like Strokes rocky like opening to it, and Sports was just the perfect way to kick that off. And when that project fell through, I liked the track so much that I decided, you know what's a great first way to like kick in the door with us? Why not use that? And Sports was just like something that was kind of cobbled together, relying upon simplicity. Vibe was something that was meant to be a little bit more deep. It was me like reflecting back upon life and just putting some of those reflections and experiences into song. And the thing is that inspiration hits from anywhere, man. I wrote a song the other day called Common Colored Cars about a blue Hyundai. Like that, literally, it was just blue Hyundai sitting in my apartment complex, and I'm like, wow, that's a really pretty color. And inspiration can strike from anywhere, you know. Sports and Vibe were really a way for us to kind of make our footprint and then build off of that into something else. We originally were working on a little like EP for it, about a 5-song EP, and then we ended up recycling that into newer stuff that we're going to be putting out soon.
We got together. We would just hang out a lot. We were both in Phi Mi Alpha over here, so definitely music. And we played a couple of things through that. That's where we first started playing. We played at a concert, one of the recitals for that.
Childish Gambino, Stand Tall, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And you know, after that, we just continued hanging out, and then eventually Tibby's picking up with Ableton and recording, and I'm just over one day, and I'm fooling around, and he goes to the restroom, and I'm just clicking through, and I'm like, wow, like, this is cool. And then I think while you're in the bathroom, I just recorded like a little piano part, and then he comes in, he's like, oh, this is cool. And then we're both just bouncing off of, oh, this is cool. And then it just erupted, man. We just, at that point, we both had that outlet, and we're both learning it at the same time, and he's figuring out some things, I'm figuring out some things, we trade off, now we know more things, and you know, we were able to not only take that inspiration, you know, but actually manifest something physically with it, and actually create what was on our mind. And that's really all it is. It's songs that have just really, you know, been in our chest for a while, or just, you know, ways. It's hard to express yourself in today's world.
Yeah.
So, you know, this is kind of our method, just going on the heart, you know, writing stuff, not really to sound, you know, anything popular, or just or fit any specific demographic or group, just really to write about how we feel.
So, last thing that I want to ask, like, how long y'all want to keep this going? This may sound like
forever.
Literally. Quinn stole the words out of my mouth. After doing these things with Thibodaux and Co. these last like 3-4 years, I can't see myself doing anything else, man. I really can't. And like, even if the other members of Thibodaux and Co. would leave for whatever reason, I would keep it going until my dying days. Because the thing about music is that once you start, you can never stop. Once you stop, it's like climbing your way back up a mountain that you were formerly at the peak of. You just got to keep doing it. Sure, there's some weeks where you don't want to record anything. There's some days where I open up able to go do
You have
this,
to
this,
accept
and this.
those too. Those writer's block, you really have to come to terms with it and accept it. And just like, you can't do music every day. Sometimes you have to sit there and be like, you know what? I'm gonna go get some coffee. And you get coffee, and the next thing you know, your brain's refreshed, and you're like, oh wow, I have so much inspiration now.
And I mean, sometimes inspiration strikes you at the weirdest of hours. Sometimes it could be 3:30 in the morning. Sometimes it's 9 a.m. when you're driving to work. And the biggest thing is just to capture that idea out of the air, and you got to put it down on a note somewhere or in a voice memo or something along the lines of that, so you don't forget it. Because the thing is that like, you might rediscover it later on, but who's to say it's the same thing as it was before? Who's to say it's, speaking to you as much now as it did before?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is something I've wanted to do, like when I was in, I think it was early, I thought it was like 2nd or 3rd grade of my elementary school, I saw a piano, and I begged to play it. And you have in the back of your mind what you want to do, You might not know it in the front of your mind, but in the back of your mind, you do. And it drives these little decisions you make every day. And I just feel like, how long I want to do this is forever. This is something I've been wanting to do, and this has been the culmination of like decades at this point now of just little life decisions to get to where we are now. But why not do this while we can?
Exactly.
Fair enough. So thank you for coming on to this. And where could they hear any of your music, or you got any upcoming gigs or anything?
So y'all can, if y'all want to check out Thibodaux and Co., we do have a Facebook page, we have an Instagram, we have a SoundCloud, Bandcamp, all that kinds of stuff. We just got a TikTok recently.
Yeah.
I don't even have TikTok downloaded on my phone, but we have a TikTok. We're on Spotify, and you can look us up. We're going to be working on new music soon and having some new music out as well. So hope to catch y'all listening.
That music is like almost done too. We got a little bit left, but I'd give it a couple months.
Yeah, and we're super excited to put it out there for y'all.
Well, I hope to hear it soon and everything. So thank you all for listening. My name is Quincy Evans.
That will conclude this episode. Thanks for listening, and check out our other episodes on the lost youth culture of Southeast Louisiana.